You're watching SBA Today. With all the latest news, stories, and advice, here are your hosts, Paul Long and Tanya Mazurek.
Week of March 24th. I am Paul, and my lovely co-host Tanya is still doing her travels. She's in Key West. She decided to join a mosque in Key West, quit SBA, and just swim in the ocean for the rest of her life. I'm just kidding. She will be back with us next week, but I am joined by the godfather of SBA, Mr. Lance Sexton. And my God, could I not pick a better week to have you on board. Again, Mr. Lance is with Phoenix Lender Services, which if you haven't heard of them, where have you been on social media? Because they've done a really good job of saying what they've been doing. So welcome, Lance, to the show.
It's great to be here, Paul, and what a glorious time in SBA we have. Change is in the air.
You know, what's funny is, so I start doing these on Thursdays. So on Thursdays, I start looking for stories and start like doing the research. And I thought to myself last Thursday, damn, there's really not much going on. I should have known better to say those words out loud, because then all of a sudden, rapid fire, all the stuff we're going to talk about today. So I'm no longer going to say that going that. No. So let's jump into the news. I think the biggest story of all is the days of free SBA loans are gone, right, Lance?
Absolutely, Paul. I call this the reverse price rollback. SBA has, well, first of all, everybody that looks at it says, oh my gosh, the fees have went up. And Paul, you and I both know that the fees are the same as they were in the SOP 5010-6. So it's not a change. And one of the things that's been critical to the SBA program over the years is operating at zero subsidy. That makes it a program that Congress loves. And with zero fees for the extended period of time, SBA is not at a zero subsidy at this moment, but bringing the fees back will absolutely correct that. So to make it long-term a program that both sides of the, both Republicans and Democrats love SBA, to continue that, the fees are necessary. But it's the reverse price rollback, Bob.
That's right. Coming from Mr. Walmart in your backyard in Arkansas.
Yeah, Paul, I see these signs frequently, and
I'm sure yes, you do.
Walmart is in our backyard, but we're going back to the way it was.
That's right. So in case you have no idea what I'm talking about, dear God, check your email. 0.55% annual lender service fee for everybody is now on there, which I get. And then for the borrower itself, loans 150 or less, it's 2% of the guarantee. But you get to keep 0.5% as a lender. So you only have to give away 1.5% to the SBA, which is it's a nice way to make sure that you're doing small loans. Absolutely. Loans 150 to 700 is 3%. This is probably the area that is, I think, going to kind of hurt a little bit. And especially in those, 1 million to 2 million, where you're back at the 3.5, 3.75 for the large deals. But the bottom line is anything over 700,000 gets the big fee now.
Well, and let's face it, as SBA lenders, we've lived with these fees before. It's like the credit elsewhere question. There's a reason somebody's asking for an SBA loan. If you've got a borrower that has plenty of cash in the bank, plenty of collateral, don't really need an SBA loan, they're not going to get an SBA loan. They're going to walk into their commercial lender and ask for a Wall Street Journal Prime floating note.
That's right.
I do think there will be an initial sting, but it will be back to business as usual before long.
So I think about it this way: if a customer balks at it, okay, would you like interest rate where prime is at 8-9%, or would you like to pay a 2 or 3% fee?
Yeah. And face it, guys, a vast majority of SBA deals have the guarantee fee wrapped into the use of proceeds. So,
Yep. So I know many people are not excited about this, but I'm pretty sure when you stop and think about it, just like Lance said, it makes sense. Dang it, it's going to sting for a while, but we're going to move on. So,
well, it will sting for a while, but let's look at it. I'm an old man, Paul.
No,
we won't. We want SBA to be around years from now after I've retired. And the way it is to get back to operating at zero subsidy. So
absolutely.
While I don't like it, I think it's necessary.
Amen. Amen. So again, in more things that came out, SBA notice revising environmental policies and processes. The bottom line is the notice does not modify the environmental policies and procedures for delegated processing for loans under PLP, etc. The bottom line is they're making it clear that the reports need to be dated within 1 year of issuance of the SBA loan number. Makes sense. Okay.
And to be honest, Paul, not that much of a change. We have to have an environmental that's less than a year old. Quite frankly, we run environmental reports on our SBA loans that involve commercial real estate anyway. And when you do the phase one and you get an all clear, you move forward. This impacts more the properties that have some contamination or some potential for contamination. But let's say you get a phase one that's not clean. Typically, your environmental professional will recommend a phase two. So you get a phase two. I had a project, Paul, back in the day where it was a beauty school that had bought a property to operate their beauty school. And as it turns out, 50 years earlier, there was a convenience or a gas station there. And the environmental phase one pulled that history of the gas station. And we actually had to do an environmental phase two where they drilled and took samples. But at the end of the environmental phase two, we got all clear. So we're able to move forward and close the loan. So while it is important to make sure we're meeting all the environmental requirements, this is not a huge change. I think the one thing it does is if you're doing a delegated loan and there is some contamination, there's some specific wording in the 5010 7.1 that tells you what to do. And if you're not sure, you can always email environmental reviews at sba.gov. It also tells us as GP lenders, our environmental report must be submitted in ETRM when we submit the loan. And we have to email the district office to let them know an environmental report has been submitted for review.
And I think that's the biggest thing now with, unfortunately, some of the rifts that happened in SBA is there's a lot less lawyers that work for SBA now. And so they're kind of going back to the really old school where the regionals start to do, a little bit more work in the regional section rather than having a national. So
absolutely.
So heads up on that. So we also got a new 1919. So so the United States now, there's only 2 sexes now in the United States. And so that was updated, but I was so upset that they did not update. All what they had to do is put on just one more bullet point that says about the addendum that we have to do for citizenship, but they didn't do that. So now we have to wait for another 1919. So everyone must have their addendums, even with this new 1919.
Again, not a huge change, but I completely agree with you, Paul. There's going to be all of this information online. There's a new 1919 that's going to come out and last for about 2 or 3 months, and then there will be another new 1919 release. So
right, because we just need more forms.
Absolutely.
So check those dates in the top right-hand corner and make sure they're up to date. Remember, you do have 30 days to start using the new 1919, so it's mandatory on April 19th.
So the big question, what happens if you have you use the incorrect 1919 that doesn't have just the male-female box? And 3 years from now, the loan defaults.
Of course you're thinking of this.
The question is, would Lance worry about the guarantee purchase 3 years from now if it came up? To be honest with you, I want you to use the new current form, make sure that's in file. But if for whatever reason you get a year down the road and you realize you didn't use the correct form, you can type up a memorandum, put it in the file attached to the 1919, and just put, we made a mistake, have the borrower sign it, and check the appropriate box and move on down the road. I don't think this is a guaranteed purchase item.
But what happens if the loan defaults only because they picked other?
That's an incredible question. An incredible question, Paul.
Because then there would be an issue. But I highly doubt that.
I am sometimes very surprised at the questions we get asked on guarantee purchases that we submit to SBA. And I'm hoping, Paul, that my career ends and I'm retired before I get asked a question like that.
Fair enough, buddy. Fair enough. April 22nd is the 7A quarterly Connect call. And man, I am telling you, if you are listening to the sound of Lance and I's voice, you should be on this call. This call should be something that you should be excited every quarter to be on, because it is, everything gets rolled out on this. And I'm telling you, and even our friends at Nagel are stating that it's going to be quite the party on April 22nd. I believe that that's when they're going to start rolling back some of the rules. And that's when they're going to do it. So be on it.
Yeah, I think you should be on the call. It's an exciting time anytime we have a variety of changes. Paul, like I told you before we started, I believe that it's going to be old school SBA lending. Favorite movie of all time, but it's going to be old school lending. I think we're going to see a lot of elements of the SOP 5010-6 come back. And I think we may see the SBA loan authorization come back, and many of the do what you do rules adjusted back to the way they were in the 5010-6.
Thank God. Now, here's one question that it's been asked multiple times, and I'm really curious. I have an opinion, but I want to hear the Godfather's opinion. And that is on the partial buyouts. Do you think they're going to eliminate that, or do you think they're going to let that ride?
Actually, I don't think they're going to eliminate that. The administration and the new SBA administrator are both talking about SBA going back to the primary purpose of SBA is to facilitate small business ownership and small business growth. And the partial ownership buyouts facilitate new business owners. They may have been a 20% owner, and then they're able to own the entire business. So, I don't see that being pulled back. Some of the things that I see being pulled back, I see equity injection rules being beefed up because right now there's so many areas of SBA lending where you don't really have to have an equity injection. I see that changing. I see some other things, the insurance, hazard insurance, where they say it's your prudent lending standard not to have it on loans under $500,000. Well, guys, I'm here to tell you, it is not prudent to not have hazard insurance. If I do a $350,000 loan on a piece of equipment, I want some
insurance. Absolutely.
And, I always say, Paul, that every underwriter and every originator of SBA loans should have to come spend some time with me in servicing and liquidation to I'm not opposed to us bringing some structure and strength back into the SBA SOP.
Amen. So if you don't follow Kelly Loeffler on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, you should, because she is always saying interesting things, which is good. And that's kind of her main mouthpiece on there. So she had a video that they are reducing the workforce by 43%. Now, that is a scary number, eliminating 2,700 jobs, returning to pre-pandemic staffing levels. Okay, so let's analyze this for a second. In my opinion, you look at maybe the idle or whatever they hired for PPP, etc. There probably is some fat that needs to be trimmed in that. I just worry about we keep losing really good experienced people. And I've already learned about some that make me want to cry because they were just the epitome of SBA, and they cared. And I still love you, Joel Steiner.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It bothers me. And we need, lender relations specialists. I'm seeing leave in some areas. I'm seeing district directors that have been there for a long time moving on. It breaks my heart, and I just wish that we would cut this with a scalpel rather than a chainsaw.
Well, now I worked at SBA during the Great Recession. We had a substantial number of contract employees. There were a number of employees that were term employees that we saw our staff reduce during that time period. So I don't doubt that there are a significant number of SBA team members that are term employees, that were contract employees for PPP and idle. And I do agree that job cuts are necessary. I don't know that 2,700, Paul, is the correct number, but I'll share a quick story. When I first took the position as deputy director of SBA, I had worked in the private sector banking up to that point in my career. And I walked into my first meeting, and there sat Nikki Carrington, the director of the Little Rock Commercial Loan Servicing Center, Don Schooneman, who was a 30-year plus SBA team member professional, Jerry Johnson, who was the SBA Express Purchase guy forever, Hollis Carter. Many of you know Hollis Carter, the 504 expert. And sitting across the table from me was over 100 years in SBA experience. That's where I have concern, is losing some of these people who have been the heart and soul of SBA for a long time. I hope we don't see. Now, most of those will be as a result of the early retirement offers that have come their way, but I really hate losing those people that have that experience, who have been through the Great Recession, been through the pandemic, have seen SBA at its highs and seen SBA at its lows. So hopefully we don't lose many of those.
I agree. They're wanting to make sure that 30% of the agency is located in the field meaning field offices, districts, like that kind of stuff. Promoting veteran businesses. Thank you. Supporting American manufacturing. Yay. And eliminating the green lender initiatives, community navigator pilot program, and DEI activities. We'll see how that all rolls on there. So again, follow her on X. It's always interesting. And last but not least, I guarantee nobody saw this coming, but apparently Lance and I are now experts at student loans, because now that falls under SBA. So I haven't got a call yet. Have you got a call yet asking for a student loan?
Not yet, Paul, but I think there's a little more than we know centered around student loan servicing. SBA has some incredible software developers, platform developers that do projects. Just take the PPP forgiveness platform that was developed by Summit Technologies. It's worked incredibly well. I have to believe in the background, guys, there is a platform that has been developed to handle this, because there's no way in the world the SBA staff can handle all the servicing needs on the student loan portfolio. So my belief is there's some unknown platform that has been developed. It could be like E-Tran, the PPP forgiveness platform, Lender Match, but there's some platform out there that's going to allow SBA to handle student loan servicing. But Paul, if they dump that all on the remaining employees, there's no way.
Agreed. So we'll see what happens. So again, Lance, I just want to say thank you very much for being on here. And don't forget, we are live Tuesday mornings here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and stream us wherever you get your podcasts. And if you can't get enough of us, feel free to go back and check out those other episodes and our brother and sister shows, the BDO show and the Art of SBA Lending. And again, we love talking about SBA. This is fun. I know it's fun for Lance too.
Oh, absolutely.
Paul, and I just want to say thanks everyone for watching, and we will talk to you next week.
Have a great week. See you guys. Thanks, Paul.